me to another country in the region that kind of had a lot of like havoc wreaked around it, which is Guatemala, which we've seen recently that not only did they have an outbreak of COVID like every place around the world, but also they were hit by a hurricane, and that was completely devastating. And while that was happening, the government passed a budget that saw major cuts to public education and also to health. And like during a pandemic, during a hurricane, it's absolutely ridiculous. So understandably, that immediately sparked protests around the country. And I wanted to ask you if you can explain, first of all, why people are so angry, because there's anger and there is burning the Congress building down. And also kind of what type of movement do the people in Guatemala need to build and to kind of channel this anger to get actual victories and bring real change?
I think what has happened in Guatemala last week is a sign of what will continue to happen in Latin America and other parts of the world. Political and social crisis aggravated by the pandemic and other factors related to poverty and inequality. The protests in Guatemala began on November 19th and peaked on last Saturday, November 21. So they were mainly against the approval by the Congress in a secret session of a budget that involved incentives for big business and also cuts in spending on education, human rights, and health during a pandemic, and also, as you said, the aftermath of hurricanes Eta and Iota. And in addition to the 4,000 deaths from the pandemic, the hurricanes have so far left at least 60 dead, more than 100 missing people, and more than 2 million affected. They have also caused the evacuation of 275,000 people. So 60% of Guatemala's population lives below the poverty line. Child malnutrition has worsened with the pandemic and affects 1 in 2 children under 5 years of age. And the approved budget not only did not allocate any special investment to tackle this problem, but at the same time, it increased the resources allocated to the parliamentaries, to the food, for example, for the members of the Congress. So, of course, this is a provocation that has been responded by the anger shown in the streets. In the mobilizations in Ciudad de Guatemala, the capital of the country, a guillotine was symbolically used, and the Congress building was attacked and partially burned down. So very strong repression was launched by the government, with hundreds of injured, and the demonstrators hit in the eyes, as has been systematically done in countries like Chile recently. So the government eventually backed down on the budget proposal, which was a strong victory for the movement in the street. But the mobilizations also demand the immediate resignation of the president, Alejandro Giammattei, who is ultra-right wing politician aligned with Donald Trump, and who took office early this year, in January this year, in reality. So in the face of enormous popular pressure, for example, the vice president publicly proposed the resignation of both the president and vice president. So the political crisis continues, and that the process of a struggle must continue. And this demand of the overthrow of the government is in the center of this process. But I would like to stress that what we have seen in countries like Chile, Peru, and Guatemala, and in most Latin American countries, is that the structural problems that came from the dictatorships of the past and were not resolved by the weak bourgeois democracies of recent years, they are flaring up with the recent crisis and provoking radical responses from workers, peasants, indigenous people, and all oppressed sectors. So the level of polarization must be deepened, and the only way out is not to repeat the experience of the progressive governments that are committed to national reconciliation and class conciliation, but to a really to a genuine socialist and revolutionary alternative for the region. Only Latin America united on a socialist basis can offer a way out for the peoples of the region and inspire workers and peoples from all over the world.